You know, a lot of people hate Trump, and that's fine. But if you're watching a news network that refuses to air the president of the United States, they're not giving you a chance to think for yourself. They're telling you what to think.
What's up, family? Appreciate you pulling up today. Hit that like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel for me. We got some heavy stuff to break down today, and I mean heavy. You already know what time it is when the mainstream media starts panicking before a president even opens his mouth. And that's exactly what happened with Trump's primetime speech. The media knew he was about to drop evidence about the 2020 election, and they preemptively decided you didn't need to hear it. All right. Preemptively. Think about that for a second. The president of the United States is about to address the nation with classified documents about election security, and four major news outlets said, nah, we're good. We'll watch it first and decide if there's anything in there worth telling you. And they literally said on air that they weren't going to air a lie because the president has a history of misleading statements. Now, let's be real. Since when did news networks become the gatekeepers of what the American people are allowed to hear? Since when do they get to decide that you are too stupid to listen to the president and make up your own mind? They said they needed time to review the documents, talk to experts, contextualize whatever he says before airing it. That's not journalism, that's censorship. And I don't care how you spin it. They censor the president of the United States, not based on what he said, but based on what they thought he might say. And that is a level of arrogance that should scare everybody, regardless of your politics. And here's the funny part: the same people who spent 4 years calling Trump a dictator, a fascist, a threat to democracy, turned around and censored him. If Trump was really a dictator, don't you think he would have the power to force these networks to air his speech? Don't you think a real dictator would have shut them down already? The fact that they could choose not to air the president proves exactly who has the power in this country. And it ain't the president, it's the media.
Another thing, they didn't just preemptively censor him, but they censored him based on what they thought he might say and what they decided that you should be allowed to hear. That is a major problem, and no one should accept that. But just in case anyone didn't get to see it, there are a couple of things that were revealed from that speech. One of them being that 250,000 non-citizens were registered to vote in the last election in just 4 states. Just 4. Another thing that was revealed was 400,000 dead people who voted. Bro, we do not have media in this country. We have propaganda. That's it.
Now, here's what Trump actually revealed. You heard it. In that speech, they didn't want you to see. According to what came out, 250,000 non-citizens were registered to vote in the last election in just 4 states. And let me say that again, 250,000 people. I know you heard it in the clip, but I got to reiterate. People who are not American citizens were on voter rolls in just 4 states. And that's just what they found in 4. So think about the full number, right? The full number looks like when you add up all 50 states. But that's not even the craziest part. He also revealed that over 400,000 dead people voted, right? Dead people. People who are not alive cast ballots in an American election. Now, I want you to sit with that for a minute. You got 400,000 deceased individuals who apparently showed up to vote, but the media wants to tell you that the election integrity concerns are just a conspiracy theory. They want to laugh at you for asking questions about this. They want to call you an insurrectionist for wanting secure elections, but the numbers are right there. These are not opinions. These are documents that Trump declassified and put out for the American people to see. And the media's response was not to investigate it. Their response was to cover their ears and say, we don't trust that man, so we're not going to show it to you. That tells you everything you need to know about who they work for. They work for the system. They don't work for you, the American people, right? Gallup came out and said only 28% of Americans trust the media to report the news fully, accurately, and fairly. And this is why I do what I do, doing my utmost best to bring the truth and speak in truth and sincerity so we can have a productive conversation based off of facts. And when you look at that from the Gallup poll, right, that only 28% of Americans trust the media to report the news, that's an all-time low, down from over 70% in 1970. And honestly, I'm surprised it's even that high. Because when you watch how they operate, it's clear they're not journalists anymore. They are the propaganda arm of the Democratic Party, plain and simple. They distort words, they interrupt speeches, they fact check in real time only one side, and they refuse to carry comments from the other side at all. That's not news, that's damage control. Now, let me take you back to where all this really started. And this is where the conversation gets uncomfortable for some people, but we're going to have it anyway. Before 2008, things were different in this country. Not perfect, but different. People had their communities, their spaces, their identities, and for the most part, everybody coexisted. Then 2008 came, and we elected a Barack Obama. And look, I'm not here to attack the man personally, but we have to be honest about what his presidency actually did to this country. Under Obama, did we get unity or we didn't get unity? Or so more division we got. We got identity politics on steroids. Suddenly everybody became a main character, right? Black people need their rights. They were saying that black people don't have rights. They were saying that LGBTQ individuals don't have their rights. Women need their rights, right? And men need their rights. Everybody's fighting. Everybody's separated. Everybody's told their victims or everybody else and their rights are getting taken away, no matter what race you are, no matter what you identify yourself as. While all that fighting was happening, Obama was giving away everything to Iran, giving everything away to China, giving everything to other countries, creating foreign dependencies that we're still paying for today. And the media, they backed every single word he said. They put him on a pedestal. They protected him. They made him untouchable. And meanwhile, regular Americans were watching their jobs disappear. Their factories closed, their communities fall apart, and they were being told that the problem was racism. The problem was sexism. The problem was that you weren't woke enough. But people started noticing something wasn't right between 2008 and 2016. More and more Americans started realizing that the division being sown wasn't accidental. It was strategic. And by 2016, they were ready for somebody who would tell the truth. When 2017 happened, Donald Trump came out of nowhere and started saying the things that everyday Americans have been thinking for years. He said the media is lying to you. He said the politicians are corrupt. He said the system is rigged. And here's the thing Donald Trump never told us what to think. He echoed what we were already thinking. And that's what scared them so bad. Because for decades, the establishment, both Republicans and Democrats, had an arrangement. They would pretend to fight each other on TV while behind closed doors, they were both feeding at the same trial, right? Feeding the same things, having the same motives, putting on a political performance, being performative, typical politician stuff. Say one thing, do another, right? They were both getting rich off the same system, both parties. They were both getting the American people distracted with culture wars while they sold out the country. Trump was the first president in a very long time who wasn't connected to that establishment. He wasn't a Bush. He wasn't a Clinton. He wasn't part of the political dynasties that had been running this country into the ground. The Clintons sold off our country, factories and everything else to countries like China, right? Sold off our jobs, I should say, in regards of getting a lump sum of cash, thinking that the economy in our country, United States, was thriving. But really, you sold off American jobs, factory working jobs, and everything else. You sold off a form of infrastructure. That's the Clintons. Trump, he was an outsider. He threatened the whole arrangement. So what did they do? They panicked. The media turned on him. The celebrities turned on him. Didn't Mike Pence turn on him in his first term? That's when he was first new, learning the ropes, right? The corporations turned on him. The intelligence agencies turned on him. Both parties turned on him. And they spent the next 4 years trying to destroy him with everything they had. Russia coalition, impeachment again, investigations raised on his home, indictments, a bullet. They threw everything at this man, and he's still standing. That should tell you something. You don't fight that hard to take down somebody who's not a threat to the system. If Trump was just another politician, they would have let him be. But he wasn't. He was the guy who promised to drain the swamp, and the swamp fought back with everything it had.
Wow. So according to news media, or 4 major news outlets, the American people are too stupid to understand and shift through evidence that the president has to offer. I mean, Just listen to what this guy has to say.
Watching tonight's presidential address and listening to what the president says tonight. But we're not going to take it live, as we've been discussing. That's because this president, sadly, has a history of misleading and in some cases simply false statements on what we've been talking about tonight, election security and integrity. Also, the White House earlier today said he would be showing newly classified documents. So we want to make sure that we have time to review those documents, talk to experts about them, contextualize whatever he says or shows before airing it. But if there is news, we will bring it to you ASAP.
You know, I've got to admit, TDS is so bad that when the President of the United States have evidence about a national security threat, certain news outlets don't even want to air it. Instead, they'll say, oh, he's lying, so you don't need to hear it. We'll shift through all the evidence and then we'll let you know what he said if there's anything important. This is censorship. I don't care what you say. Shame on those news outlets. I mean, what happened to journalism? Does that exist in this country? And I will tell you that those licenses that they have should be revoked. Should be revoked immediately. Think about it. The liberal left did damage control way before Trump even gave a speech. That should tell you something. That should tell you that they did not want the American people or their supporters to hear the facts themselves. Instead, they'll feed you their narrative. But I don't know. So much for the cry of Trump being a dictator. Because if anything proved that Trump was not a fascist or a dictator, the censorship of the President of the United States should answer that question.
There you have it. Bingo, family. Self-explanatory. See, I'm not making this stuff up. Common sense is common sense. Common sense is becoming more common somewhat. I'm starting to sense it or feel it in the air. What you think, family? Because at one point, I thought it was all lost. I was panicking. I ain't even gonna lie. I was sweating bullets. I didn't know what common sense was gonna be, where I was gonna find it, who I was gonna sense it. But I know y'all got common sense, family. We got common sense over here, family. We do.
Let me break it down to you like this. Up until 2008, everything was fine and dandy. Everybody was who they were and they found a place where they belonged. 2008, we went and hired the black man to be president because we thought it was going to be cool and we finally got something. And that all backfired in our face. Why? Because he created all the division that we see now. Everybody who was cool and had a space where they were, all of a sudden decided that they wanted to be the main characters. We need our rights. Black people need their rights. LGBTQ needs their rights. Women want their rights and the men want their rights. And everybody's fighting. Obama's over here giving everything away to Iran, giving everything away to Canada, giving everything away to China. Everything that we had was given away to everybody else. Creating all these false dependencies that people rely on so that they can take our money. Between this time and 2016, people started to realize that something wasn't right. Everything is going wrong under Obama. Everybody's divided now. Everybody's fighting now. Everybody wants to be in the forefront now. All of this occurred under Obama, and we all realized it. And at the same time, we see the media backing up everything that he says, just confirming everything that he says while all of our stuff is being taken away and nobody even realizes it's happening because they're so enamored by the black man in the suit. Then 2016 gets here and the unexpected happens. Donald Trump. He comes up and he says, you know what, I'll run for president. And he starts calling out the media and he starts calling out all the lies and he starts calling out all the corrupt politicians and everybody who already realized that this stuff was happening. We finally found a voice that was echoing what we were already thinking. Donald Trump never told us what to think. He understood what we were thinking already. So we said, yeah, let's get behind him and make him president. And by doing this, we stopped a whole train that was coming towards us because it was supposed to be handed to Hillary. Donald Trump gets in there and what happens? Everybody freaks out, the Republicans and the Democrats. Why? Because no longer can they be corrupt. Congress, no longer can they just perform their corrupt deeds. All these politicians that was working together on both sides of the aisle, all of a sudden had somebody who was no longer listening to them. So what happens? The media turns against him. The celebrities turn against him. Every single thing that we have, every company, every corporation turns against Donald Trump. He's the big bad wolf. We need to stop him because he's racist. He's a misogynist. He's this, he's that. He's such a horrible person. Even though the whole world loved this man prior to him becoming president, somehow he's been a secret racist under our nose the whole time. But he wasn't. He was the man who they couldn't stop. He was the man that was going to drain the swamp. He was the man that was going to call out the Republicans and the Democrats for the corrupt things that they've been doing to the American people. And now everybody's flip-flopping. Republicans are becoming Democrats. Democrats are becoming Republicans. People are switching sides. People you never thought would be teaming up with Republicans came to the Republican side. People you thought that would never be Democrats all of a sudden flipped. Why? Because they started understanding. All the good people started realizing Donald Trump is doing the right thing. We need to team up with him. And all the other people said, we need to get out of Dodge or else we're going to get in trouble. 2020, Donald Trump gets booted out. Biden comes in. What happens at the same time? C-19. What happens next? They open the borders and start letting anybody in. While we're sitting at home and we can't talk to each other, everybody's coming over the borders at the same time. And they're telling you, you better get a jab. You know what else was happening? China was going around everywhere, buying up land everywhere, making deals with Canada, making deals with Iran, proxy wars. At the same time as Biden is in control for 4 years, they spent 4 years attacking Donald Trump. They spent 4 years kicking him offline. They spent 4 years silencing anybody who trusted in or supported Donald Trump because we knew the truth. And if they shut us up, then they can continue doing what they've been doing prior to Donald Trump ever being elected the first time. But guess what? They couldn't get rid of him. They couldn't get rid of him with a bullet. They couldn't get rid of him in jail. They couldn't get rid of him with accusations. They couldn't get rid of him with the DOJ. Nothing could stop him. And then it became too big to rig. And guess what? We came back by the grace of God. We sat here and watched countries, children, praying for Donald Trump, saying, we need your help in other countries. And God answered, and now we're back, and we're fighting the same fight again. And the Democrats are trying their hardest to stop us. They're trying their hardest to switch over to the socialist group. They're trying their hardest to hire their Mamdanis and their Abdul Saids and all this kind of stuff. They're trying, but we're fighting. Now, you can call us racist. You can call us whatever you want to call us at this point. We're used to it. We're used to being called Yahtzees. We're used to being stepped on. We're used to being threatened. Sure, I had a man today tell me in my comments that I'm going to be on a noose, and he's waiting for it. It's okay, because we're still going to fight that good fight. Call me a coon if you want to, black people, but we are the ones that are fighting for you, even though our lives are being threatened every day, even though you continue to show all this racial hatred towards us every single day. Wake up. God has a plan. God bless.
What are you going to do when the truth comes out? What are you going to do when all the lies that you believed from 2020 actually comes to the surface? You've been believing all the lies from the liberal media all of this time, and now you don't want to let go of the lies that you've been believing all this time. And the interesting thing for me is that all of you have been believing the lies, knowing that they were lies from the get-go. And the reason why you were believing the lies of 2020 is because you did not want to know the truth, because you didn't want the truth to be reality. Well, guess what? President Trump is back in the White House, and now they actually get to look at it. And I want President Trump to bring all of this to the surface. I want President Trump to show exactly what happened. I've been saying it from day one. Personally, I thought it was a coup that took place during that time. But you on the left, you Democrats, you don't care about the truth. All you want is your sinister ways to happen in this country. Well, guess what? It's all coming out. You can deny it all you want. You can pretend it didn't happen. You can pretend like none of this was ever the case in the first place. You can pretend all you want. The truth is the truth. 2 + 2 will always equal 4, no matter how hard you try to make it to be 5. It's always going to equal 4. You gotta love it. That's why I don't have any issues being MAGA. You're gonna have to get over it. My name is Will Johnson. Like, follow, and subscribe. UniteAmericaFirst.com.
So then 2020 came and we all knew what happened. The pandemic hit. They locked us in our houses, shut down the economy. They told us we couldn't go to church, we couldn't see our families, we couldn't work. And while we were sitting at home scared and isolated, they opened the borders wide open. Millions of people started flowing into this country. At the same time, they were telling you, you better get the jab, you better wear the mask, you better stay 6 feet apart. But for those people or the people coming across the border, none of those rules applied. You see the pattern yet? While they had us locked down, they were changing the demographics of the country. While they had us distracted fighting each other over masks and vaccines, they were letting China buy up American land and make deals with Iran and Canada. You heard it. And while they had us arguing about pronouns and critical race theory, they were shipping our manufacturing base overseas and hollowing out the middle class. And anybody who spoke up about it got censored, kicked off social media, deplatformed, fired from their job, called a conspiracy theorist, called a racist, called a domestic terrorist. For 4 years, they silenced anyone who supported Trump because they knew if they could make us be quiet, they could keep doing what they were doing. But guess what? He's here. They couldn't get rid of him. They tried to bullet, they tried to jail, fake accusations. They tried the Department of Justice. They tried lawfare. Nothing worked. They tried to say what Letitia James over there in New York, Attorney General, how she tried to say that Donald Trump overvalued his properties. And the bank said, we never had no problem. We did good business. He paid us back. You know, he got his property. We did good business. And eventually it became too big to rig. God brought him back. And now the truth is coming whether they like it or not. Now, I want to talk about something that's been on my mind for a minute, and this is where I might lose some of you. I got to be real. When it comes to individuals who spread the divisiveness committed to protecting the Democratic Party than they are to the truth, they are dishonest people, right? And I watched this clip of this woman named April. She's talking about a specific race, in this case, black people. I'm just speaking in general. For those who protected the Democratic Party than they are the truth, right? She said, we know each other. We know where not to be caught after dark. We know which areas are dangerous. And she's right, right? You grow up in the city. We all know the certain neighborhoods you don't go to, the certain blocks you don't walk down, certain areas where the crime rate is through the roof and police don't even respond. But you know what happens when conservatives point that out? And the liberals who know those neighborhoods exist will call you a racist for saying it out loud. They will stand on television and tell you that crime is not a problem, that systemic racism is the only reason communities struggle, right? And I even heard some rhetoric of white people being a real danger. The whole white versus black thing that it's so destructive, man. We need to come together, no matter what race, no matter what color we are. Love and unity, right? To the next generation, for the better of this country. We are all in this together, no matter your race, no matter your skin color. I'm gonna keep saying it. I always advocate for unity and love. Spreading that peace, love, and positivity, like I always say at the end of every video, right? But it makes you wonder, individuals getting paid to keep this black and white thing or just divisive rhetoric and racism and everything alive and anger and to be scared and fear mongering to continue to vote Democrat, right? Getting paid to keep it alive, racism. Because without racism, they lose their identity. They lose their relevance. These are all questions. I'm just having a conversation. They lose their paycheck. I mean, could it be ethnic narcissism, right? Is when people build their entire identity around being a victim and then aggressively defend that victimhood because it's all they have. These are people with destructive mentality. Some would say loser mentality, who need to feel superior to somebody so they can keep the race war going. And a person who really perfected this strategy with his great articulation and the way he had his swagger, Barack Obama, in a way, a lot of people would say. That's the first thing that comes to mind when I hear and speak to a lot of people. Obama didn't create racism, but he created the modern playbook, they would say, for using racial division as a political weapon. Let me know what you think in the comments. He made it fashionable to see everything through the lens of race, they would say. He made it acceptable for the media to protect Democrats of color from any criticism while destroying their political opponents, they would say. As someone like April has said that I'm about to show you the clip of. They'll say he set the stage for identity politics nightmares or the identity politics nightmare we're living through right now. And the media covered it up or covered it or covered for Obama the entire time. So I want you guys to check this out.
The black liberal, to me, in my opinion, are the most racist demographic in this country. And you want me to believe racism is still alive and well because these are the racists. It's the black liberal. The black liberal is the one that don't want racism to die. It is the black liberal that wants to live in perpetual fear. It's the scaredy cat boogeyman, white man over there, and him dangerous and him scary. And mind you, they want to go to school with you and they want to live in your neighborhoods because you hear this schizophrenia. Do you hear this ethnic racist schizophrenia? Everybody knows that the white schools are the best. Everybody knows that the white neighborhoods are the safest and are the best. So you're always inching to live in their communities, to go and be educated and sit right next to them. But white people are dangerous and white men are dangerous. Stay away from people who think like this. This the type of Negro you don't want as your neighbor. Why? Because the moment something happens, they don't need facts. They don't need evidence. They will just implicate and indicate that you must have done something to them simply because you're white. They don't need evidence, nor do they want evidence. The black liberal, to me, in my opinion, are the most racist demographic in this country. They ain't got nothing on the white supremacists. No, the white supremacists, I can't tell you the last time I seen a white supremacist, and that little conglomerate or gathering in DC was probably the loudest, quiet, widespread demonstration of intimidating white supremacy I have ever seen. Y'all got to get your white supremacy game up, because if that's the best y'all got, I wasn't afraid of you and you're not scaring anybody with them ski masks on and the little hats. Like, y'all were really non-threatening. I don't know what happened to the white supremacist white man, but if white supremacy is such this big threat, y'all's external expression of it is slipping. Nobody anywhere is afraid of white supremacy.
So that's Miss April. That's what I was referring to as we was having a conversation before I played the clip. So what's the takeaway from all of this, family? What are we supposed to learn? Here's what this actually looks like in real life. You have a media that doesn't trust you to think for yourself. You have a political class that has been dividing you by race, gender, and identity for decades. So you don't notice them looting the country? You have an entire entertainment complex of liberals who get paid to keep racial tension alive because it makes them rich and famous. A lot of individuals would say, a lot of Americans woke up to say, and even our president has exposed it to show the evidentiary proof of that. A lot of Americans would say. And you see the media disapproving what American people are saying and basically trying to discredit it by replacing on what they want to hear. Replacing the media wants to tell the American people to shut up for what they're recognizing and realizing what our president is saying as it come to be to the truth to them, and this whole racial tension and everything else, this whole political game and playbook. You see that they would rather discredit you with a non-citizen to keep what they want to hear alive and in power. And you have a man named Donald Trump who came along and threatened to expose all of it. And that's why they hate him. That's why they tried to destroy him. And that's why they censored his speech based on this conversation we're having. Not because he's a threat to democracy, but because he's a threat to their scam. And now the receipts are dropping. The truth is coming out. 250,000 non-citizens registered to vote. 400,000 dead people voting. Documents the media doesn't want you to see. And at the end of the day, you have a choice. You can keep letting them tell you what to think, or you can start thinking for yourself. You can keep letting them divide you, or you can start asking why they benefit from keeping us separated. You can keep believing the lies, or you can open your eyes to what's really happening. So here's a scripture that comes to mind, and I want you to really hear this. John chapter 8, verse 32 says, "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." Now think about that in the context of everything we just talked about. The truth shall make you free. That means there are forces in this world that want to keep you from the truth because they want to keep you bound. They want you distracted, they want you divided, and they want you angry at the wrong people. And they want you fighting battles that don't matter so you don't notice the real war happening right in front of you. I always say, be careful who you be angry with because that could be the individual that's saving you behind. The truth is what breaks those chains. But here's the thing for my non-spiritual family who might not connect with the Bible verse. The life wisdom here is simple. People in power will always try to control what you know because what you don't know can hurt them. A con artist doesn't want you to see how the trick works. A corrupt politician doesn't want you to read the fine print. A biased media doesn't want you to hear both sides. And the most powerful thing you can do is demand the truth and refuse to accept hand-picked information from sources that have proven they don't have your best interest at heart. Whether you're a Christian or not, the principle is the same. Truth liberates, lies enslave. Always has been the way. That way always will be. So stop letting them tell you what to think and start asking questions. Start looking at who benefits when you are divided. Start paying attention to who gets rich when you stay angry because the truth is out there. And we're just having a conversation. You can agree or disagree with what I talked about. That's the whole beauty of different perspectives. You don't know what you don't know. But right, the truth is out there. They just don't want you to find it. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Turn on those notifications so you never miss an upload. Let me know what you think in the comments. Spread that peace, love, and positivity. And let the love supersede the hate, family. Peace.